1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Out there in mandolin land, Mike Heading here, coming to you today with the old song Hot Corn, Cold Corn in the key of G. We've got 3 solos. We're going to start with the very beginner version and then work up a little bit further in difficulty, but kind of still staying in the beginner realm. This is a really old song. I've heard a bunch of different versions of it. One of the first mandolin and guitar versions I heard was on the great Jerry Garcia, David Grisman album, Not for Kids Only. I believe it was on that. I heard that a friend showed me that record, I think even before I knew what a mandolin was, and fell in love with that record, started falling in love with acoustic music. If you're a banjo player or more of a traditional bluegrass fan, you've probably heard the Flatt and Scruggs classic version of Hot Corn, Cold Corn. I think there's a couple versions of them playing it on TV shows in the 50s. I know a lot of bluegrass players got their first exposure to banjo and bluegrass through some of those early Flatt and Scruggs TV recordings, so definitely check out that version as well. Alright, let's start breaking down Hot Corn, Cold Corn in the key of G. Alright, so let's start breaking down solo number 1. So remember, we're going to start with a very basic solo, and then solo 2 and solo 3 are going to get progressively more difficult. But we're going to be playing this same melody line for all 3 solos, okay? So let's play the first 5 measures of solo 1. This will be like halfway through the first solo, and then we'll start breaking it down. Here we go. Do that a few times. We'll do it really slow. And a little faster. So we're in the key of G, and we're going to start with a little pickup. Our main melody note that we want to get to is going to start in measure 2 on the 5th fret of the D string, which is our G note, our root note. We're in the key of G, so it makes sense that that root note, also a G, would be a very strong melody note, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to walk up to that note by hitting the open D string twice. This is the pickup. And then we're going to play the 2nd fret with our index finger of our left hand on the D string. And then reach your ring finger up to the 5th fret. Ideally keeping your index finger down if you can, so you're not doing that. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th fret happens on beat 1. So you have 4 downstrokes in a row. 1. Also could be like a pickup for a song like Will the Circle Be Unbroken or something like that. You've probably heard that pickup before. 1. And then we're going to do, for measure 2, a little shuffle rhythm. So this is a classic like fiddle bow. We're going to movement called a shuffle. We're going to do a down, down, up, pick direction. So we have, I'm just looping measure 2. So we're introducing those upstrokes on the and, so we're going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So that's where we're getting the down, down, up, down, down, up. The pick direction is super important because it's naturally going to help you play the timing, because I'm doing 2 downstrokes in a row and then grabbing that upstroke, and that's going to help me play that rhythm. The second downstroke helps me not rush through it, so I go. So you have 1. And then we're going to play that same rhythm again for half a measure. This is measure 3, so down, down, up on that 5th fret. And and then back to the second fret, which you hopefully already have down, and then open. So we're basically going up those notes and then back down them, right? Remember, when you add a higher fret, this is obviously a beginner technique, but just to reiterate, when you add a higher fret, right, it cancels out what's behind it. So you don't need to lift that finger up. That's a very common beginner mistake. If you need to lift it up a little bit because you're working on you need to work on your stretching, that's okay. But hopefully that distance isn't very far where you should be able to hopefully reach your hand with a little bit of practice without lifting that finger up, because then we're ready to go right back to it. So we have 1. You could even just loop measures 2 and 3. And measure 3, I'm going down, down, up, down, down. So the timing there would be 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. The other thing I like to do, obviously, and I do it in all my lessons, is I count out loud while I'm practicing sometimes. Obviously not all the time, but I'm a big believer if you can count it, you can play it. So knowing the counting is going to give you confidence of what target you're aiming at. So even if you can't hit the target yet because you're still practicing, at least you know what you're aiming at. If you don't know the counting, it's hard to know to determine if you played it right. So that's why I always revert back to the counting. It gives me confidence that I'm playing it right. So we have 1. And then measure 4, same rhythm. Now we're going to go to a D chord. So we're just going to play on the open A string, down, down, up, down, down, up. Same shuffle rhythm. And then a little response like open A string. 4th fret on the D string with your second finger, middle finger, and then 2nd fret, open. So you're kind of walking down like the kind of a partial D major scale. So you have, you'll notice this melody is basically a call and response. A lot of melodies do this, but so we have the opening call, right? Our response. So not too hard, that's 4 and 5. Notice how we're alternating between all or partial up and down picking in measure 4. And then measure 5 we go to all down strokes. So those are all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So do all down strokes. That's going to ensure that you don't, or you hopefully don't rush through. So we're going down, down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 down. Another common mistake is not giving eighth notes and quarter notes proper timing. So a common beginner mistake would be to rush through those quarter notes, because it kind of feels like that part should be easier, so it's a natural tendency to just want to rush through it, but then you realize that you'd have to play the next part that much faster if you rush through those quarter notes, right? So that's where, again, the pick direction becomes so important. And the counting. So I'm going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm practicing myself, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll count it out loud a few times to get it in my head, and then obviously I'll play without counting. And then measure 6, another response lick. So index finger up to the 2nd fret of the A string. This is a B note, which also works in a G chord. So we're going to play the 2nd fret, down, down, up, and then back to the 5th fret on the D string, and then 2nd fret on the D. So our ring finger is basically always hovering over these 5th frets. Our index finger is always hovering over the 2nd fret. So we have same timing as measure 3. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then measure 7, another basically response lick. if you do the pick direction right and you keep your fingers hovering over the frets that they're playing on. Now we actually play measures 4 and 5 again. And then we have a little half measure of 2/4. So normally we're playing 4 quarter notes per measure, but this song has one little section where you play only 2 beats. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then we start counting in 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little tricky, but again, that's where the counting is so important. So measure 10, we're just gonna play a little basic, it's like a little ending lick. We're gonna go open on the A string, and then 2nd fret, and then down to the 5th fret on the D string, which is our ending. And then we play a little ending lick. So we go 5th fret twice on the D string, and then 2 open, down, up on the D, and then 4, 2 on the G, down, up, open G. So we have, let's play 8 through the beginning of 12. It's kind of like a full phrase. You have measure of 2, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Again, let's just do the counting once. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just that one measure of what you would call 2, 4. So a quarter note still gets a full beat, but now we're only playing 2 quarter notes per measure. So it's over the D chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we'll break that down more in the backup, how to strum to that half measure. But just count it out loud. Get that timing in your head. So it's... And then measure 12 is actually going to be the pickup into solo 2 that we'll break down in a second. So let's play that whole first solo. Here we go. 1. You can pick it up right there. So to loop solo 1, you'd play that ending lick in measure 11. And then this open would be what is normally the rest of measure 1, and then you would just pick it right back up. So you basically play that first note of measure 12, and then you would repeat back into measure 1. Alright, now let's break down solo 2, which will be that same melody, but we're just going to spice it up a little bit. Let's break that down right now.